1 through 4. I hope with this packet, what you will do, and I know from a student perspective, like I was that kid who was really good at math, and if I had to look something up, I really didn't want to do it because I just wanted to be done fast. So I might eliminate an answer choice I knew was wrong and try to speed through it, but that is not going to help you on the EOC. So I hope that you did like I encouraged you yesterday to get out your Rattles packet and look back. If you didn't, hopefully you remembered something because I did give you the hint of the singles mingle before you left, right? If you didn't do your homework, please know the common assessment's coming up and the EOC's coming up. If you don't review some of this stuff, it's not going to be good, and it does count 10% of your grade for the whole year. So let's make sure we're working on it. So out of the ones that I called out, is there one that somebody wants me to go over?
Can you just go over like one?
I will, but what's your question?
For the EOC, is it like a long test?
It is 50 questions. Occasionally it's 56, and I'll tell you why it's 56, because each year they put some what they call field test questions on there. So if it's 56 questions, 6 of them would not count. And what that means is they're putting questions out there and they'll sprinkle them throughout the test. You won't know which 6 it is. I won't know which 6 it is. But the reason they do that is because they want to put a question out there and see how students do on it. They want to know, is this question too easy? Is this question too hard? That way they'll know, can they use it in the future on a EOC.
So the 6 ones don't count?
There will be, normally there's about 5 or 6 questions that won't count towards your score, but you won't know which ones they are. They sprinkle them in. They'll put some in the beginning, middle, and end. But it should be faster than map testing for you, and this is why. Map testing is about 53 questions, but it's stuff you may or may not have seen before. Whereas the EOC is only testing you on what we've done this year. So it should be things you've at least been exposed to, even if you haven't seen it worded exactly like that. It won't have anything from like calculus or trig or pre-cal or geometry on there. It'll all be Algebra 1.
So how many days do
You get that one day, but we will start after announcements, and you'll work into, just like a SC Ready test. You know how you take it in one day?
No.
State testing at the end of the school year, like we have a day for math. Okay. And we all start in that one day, and you stay in there until the whole school's finished, remember? And then a few kids will go sit in the library to finish if they don't. So that's kind of how the EOC works. We'll all go in a room. You'll sit in there and you'll work. And for like the first hour and a half, we don't let anybody leave. That way you're not disrupting people. But after that, as you finish, we let you go back to class.
What room?
We'll probably use the cafeteria and the auditorium so that we can spread out. And then whenever you finish, you'll leave and go back. I think I've had one kid in all my time take longer than lunchtime. Most students finish by 10:30 at the latest. I've had a few to take until 11. But normally they're your ones who take a little bit longer on tests, which is fine. If it's taking so long, they will give you the lunch break, but they'll let you keep working until one of the lunches and then stop and you can start back. But most students are finished by lunch break. You what? No, it'll be like a field trip. So like it's not a field trip, but it would count like that. Like if you go on a field trip, it doesn't count against your attendance. Now your teacher might mark you absent because you're not sitting in the room, but Miss Curry will go in and override it and put that you were testing. All right, so you said let's just do number 1, Luke?
Just do one of them.
Okay, so we're starting with 27. Skylar, sit up, please. When we want to break 27 down, because none of these are like terms, right? One has a 27, one has a 54, and one has a 6. So we got to break it down doing the factor tree. So what's 2 things that multiply to give me 27? 9 and 3, and then 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. So there was already a -2 out front, and under the square root, I'm going to put those 3 3s. Is everybody okay with me rewriting 27 as 3 times 3 times 3? And then if they're a pair, that makes them a perfect square. So that pair goes out front as 1. So the -2 is already out front. The 3 goes out front as 1, and then that 3, poor thing, he's left at the singles mingle. So -2 times 3 is -6 square roots of 3. So that first term, I can rewrite as -6 square roots of 3. Now we're going to work on the middle one. So I'd have to do a factor tree for what number for the middle one? 54. And that's 9 times 6. 9 is 3 times 3, and 6 is 2 times 3. It already had a 2 in front of the square root. So I'm going to put a 2 and 3 3s because that's my prime factorization. I got a pair of 3s that met at the singles mingle. So the 2 goes down. 3s have to leave. 2 times 3 stays under there. 2 times 3 is 6, and the square root of 2 times 3 is 6. So I put plus 6 square roots of 6. And then the last one is the square root of 6. Will that break down anymore? 6 is just 2 times 3, right? So I just write it here at the end. Do I now have any like terms? You asked for this one. Do I now have any like terms? Yes, these two are like terms because they both have the square root of 6, right? So the negative 6 square roots of 3 stays by itself. And what's 6 plus 3? 9. So that is A. Now, I'm going to show you a way to cheat the system if it's multiple choice. This only works with 2 conditions. 1, it has to be multiple choice. And 2, if all the multiple choice answers are completely broken down. If one of them's completely broken down and the other one's not, this may not work. But I'm going to show you a way to cheat the system. So if you did your homework and you got this right, you still want to pay attention when I go over this. And those of you who didn't do your homework and you completely zoned out on what I just done, you really should have been paying attention because you didn't even look at it last night. You need to pay attention to what I'm getting ready to do now too. So I'm going to open up Desmos because you get Desmos on the Common Assessment and on the EOC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the original question in the first one. So negative 2 square roots of 27 plus 2 square roots of 54 plus 3 square roots of 6. Now, this gives us a decimal answer because this is a number, but it's something we call an irrational number, which means it goes on and on and on and on forever without repeating the same number. It never stops. They have to stop it here because the calculator can only hold so many digits. But we're going to talk more about irrational numbers probably tomorrow because that's one of our lessons for the Common Assessment. So this is the answer in decimal form, 11.65 something, something, something. So whichever answer choice is equivalent to this better be that same decimal. So if I type in answer choice A on the next line, answer choice A is negative 6 square roots of 3 plus 9 square roots of 6. Do I get the same number there? Yes, because they're equal. Let me show you what happens if I type in B, which is the wrong answer. If I type in B, negative 6 square roots of 3 plus 18 square roots of 6. Is that the same number? No, because they're not equivalent. So worst case scenario, if it's multiple choice, you type in the original and you type in all the answer choices until you find the one that is the same exact number. Does that make sense? Is that how I want you to do it originally? No. Would I rather you do that than to miss the problem? Yes. So while I want you to know how to do it the right way, this is better than nothing because on the EOC, they won't know which way you did it. Okay? So Common Assessments on Monday, you're going to have to do this. Any questions on 2, 3, or 4? All right, now let's go over 5 and 6. So 5 and 6 were a little strange. You had to rewrite them in radical form. And I don't know why this sticks out in my mind, but the day that we did the pink cards around the room, these are the 2 that were over here on this board. And everybody got to those over there, and they were like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. But it was the easiest in what was going on in the room. So when we look at number 5, the denominator tells you what root you're taking. So it's the 4th root. The numerator tells you the exponent. Notice I have the 10 and the r in parentheses because both of them are being raised to that power, so I have to make sure they're both being raised to the 3rd power. You can write it this way or this way as long as you know that crazy looking letter I have right there is an R. Are we good? You good? And then this is number 6. The denominator is 3, which makes it the cube root. The exponent is 5. You can write it either way. You do not have to put it both ways. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to try number 7 and number 8 on your own. Try to cover up the answer choices and see if you can rewrite it without the answer choices first, and then check and see if that answer is there. 7 and 8.
Luke wanted to order that one, please.
Thank you. All right, looking at these, there's only one answer choice on both of them that even makes sense. That's why I wanted you to try to cover it up first to see if you can do it. Because I can promise you on the common assessment, if they give you 4 answer choices, they're all going to look really close to each other. You're going to have to know the difference. But when you look at number 7, there was only one of them that even had 6x in it. So if you're a good test taker and you don't know what to do here, at least pick the only one that has that in it. Okay? But what does this mean? The cube root means the denominator is 3. And the 5th power means the numerator is 5. They have to be in parentheses. If they hadn't put it on parentheses, it would have just been with the x. Questions about 7? All right, and 8. It's the 3rd power. And then the 6 is not being raised to anything, but the b is being raised to 2. So I could write it like this or like this. So if I look at answer choice A, it's the second one. The big thing to know is whatever root it is, that's the denominator of your fraction. When? June 10th. Common assessment, though, is Monday, which is going to have this stuff
Common assessment doesn't agree with two.
as a major grade. Yep.
And EOC?
EOC is 10% of the whole year grade. All right, right here, there is a note for you. This is new, so I want to explain it. There's only one question like this on the common assessment, and either you know it or you don't. So I'm going to read it to you now and hopefully read it to you again on Friday, and you're just going to have to remember it. Polynomials and closure. First of all, to be a polynomial, no variables in the denominator or the exponent. So you can't have variables in the denominator and you can't have variables in the exponent in order to be a polynomial. So an example of a polynomial is like 3x plus 5, 2x squared, 5x to the third minus 7. Those are polynomials. Closure means it's closed under an operation if it produces another polynomial, which means if I add a polynomial to another polynomial, do I get out a polynomial? Yes. If I subtract them, do I get out a polynomial? Yes. If I multiply them, do I get out a polynomial? Yes. But if I divide them, if I divide a polynomial by a polynomial, can't that leave a variable in the denominator? Yes, it can. So what you need to know is that polynomials are not closed under division. So the way it'll be on your common assessment, it'll ask you one of two things. Which operation is polynomials not closed under? And you will just circle division. Or it could give you a picture of them, and it could show you 2 of them being added, 2 of them being subtracted, 2 of them being multiplied, and 2 of them being divided. And you have to know you got to pick the one that's being divided. And the reason that happens is because if you divide by a polynomial, it might leave a variable in the denominator, which makes it not closed. Are we good? All right, I get this is boring. Let's hang in there. We got about 5 minutes left, okay? 5 minutes of me teaching, not packing up. We got time for that too. So if you would turn to the next page, number 11. Number 11 is to find the error. I want you to look at number 11. Look and see if you can find what this person did wrong. on number 11, look and see if you can figure out what this person did wrong. Dylan, if I cover up this stuff and this is the problem right here, what should my first step be? Multiply. So I would do R times R and then R times what? -7. So they did R times R and then they did R times what? +7. What should they have done? Times -7. So this should have been -7. So if I wrote over here step 1, step 2, and step 3, and I ask you which step did they make their mistake, what would you tell me? Step 1. So the mistake was should have multiplied by -7. Also right here, they should have multiplied by -7 because you would then distribute the R. Did somebody ask a question and I interrupted them? No? All right, we're going to do one more problem together, then I'll tell you what your homework is and we're done for the day. We're going to do number 13. Calculator. The width of a calculator can be represented by 3x plus 1 inches. The length of the calculator is twice the width. Write a polynomial that represents the area of the calculator. How do you find area of a rectangle? Length times width. So they tell us that the width is 3x plus 1 and the length is twice the width. What does twice mean? Times 2. So this side is 2 times 3x plus 1. Because it's twice that. We need to simplify that. How can I simplify that? What do I need to do with that 2? Distribute it. So 2 times 3 is 6x and 2 times 1 is 2. Now I know the length. I know the width. How did you just tell me to find the area? Length times width. So I do 3x plus 1 times 6x plus 2. You take a moment and see if you can multiply those two to get the new polynomial.
So wait, what's length times width times height?
Volume of a rectangular prism. So take a moment and see if you can multiply those two together. Take a moment and see if you can multiply those two together. All right, Colby, if I'm multiplying these, what should I do? 3x times 6x, and then 3x times what? 2. And then 1 times, and 1 times, yes. Oh, I thought you were asking. So I would distribute the 3x and distribute the 1. When I do that, I have like terms. So what do I have to do with the 6x and the 6x? Combine them, and that makes 12x. Questions there? All right, so just so we're all clear, if something is a low-level grade for homework, I don't allow makeup for that. However, the Math Nation was a big assignment. I will allow you to turn that in late for a late grade. So if you didn't have your Math Nation stuff done today and you bring it tomorrow, it'll knock you down to a 90. Each day you're losing 10 points on that. So get that turned in. Homework tonight. On the front page, numbers 9 and 10, which should be very easy. On the back of that page, number 12, 14, and 15. So I'm only asking for 5 problems, and they should be easier than last night's because I've gone over all of it except for number 15 today. Yes. Yes. 9 and 10, 12, 14, and 15. Pretty much you should have 1 through 15 done because we did all the other ones. 12, 14, and 15. All right. Thank you for your attention. You can start packing up.
Yes.